Welcome to the Natural Health and Healing Show with one of New England's leading nutritionists, Mark Minkoff. The show is brought to you by the Good Health Stores in Hanover and Quincy. Call Mark at 781-837-4900 with your health and nutrition questions. Now, here's Mark.
Good evening and welcome. And a very happy, healthy Sunday to each and every one of you. Have a very fascinating presentation this evening for you, one that you've actually tasted in the past. We've had Dan Hegrich on now, I think twice, on the Natural Health and Healing Show, and he's, of course, a six-time, yes, I did say six, the number after 5 and the number that comes before 7, six-time cancer survivor. Incredible life story, who has turned super cancer coach extraordinaire, who now calls himself the blue-collar healer. And Dan Hegrich is indeed a super coach extraordinaire and a great healer. He is just a remarkable human being with a remarkable life story that he has turned around, as I say, from cancer patient to cancer coach. And he's a gentleman that, for all intents and purposes, has really and truly healed himself from the dread disease. And he's trying to help you all now. He refers to himself as the blue-collar healer, as I said. Blue-collar healing, he says, is a heart, mind, and body well-being program that shows you how to uncover, discover, and recover optimal health and happiness if you're willing to do the work. He says it all starts with the winner's attitude in thought, feeling, and action. And he has some very powerful phrases that he likes to kind of stir us up with. He likes to say that blue-collar healing is all about making it up, putting your money where your mouth is. He always asks us what we're going to do about our problems. He encourages us to wake up. And he says it's all real simple. You just got to be willing to do the work. And, of course, nutrition is a very central part of his healing. And he'll go into great detail explaining exactly how nutrition has played a significant role both in, as he will tell you, causing his cancer, or certainly contributing as a contributing cause to his cancer, because at one time, many years ago, Dan will tell you that he didn't exactly steward his health particularly well. He was quite reckless with alcohol and with food, etc. And, of course, the end result was a very serious case of illness in the form of six different forms of cancer, 6 different attacks on his body that he, again, turned around, recovered from. And remarkable strength he has. His amazing spirit, I think, is what it's all about. When anybody that knows Dan Hegrich, the blue-collar healer, certainly knows that this man is all about spirit, and he is no shrinking violet. And there is nothing that intimidates him. He is a very powerful, blithe spirit. And he's got some very important messages regarding what he calls do the cure. Do the cure. And that's something that he wants to share with us this evening. And when he talks about doing the cure, he's actually talking about a process of awakening, a process of moving our bodies, moving our minds past whatever limitations we think they're being held down by. He's talking about nutrition. He's talking about exercise. He's talking about quality of life. And he's talking about quality of living and life experience. For Dan Hegrich is all about quality and quantity of love. He talks about the importance of making sure that your life is indeed open and that you're expressing yourself and that you're having a full life experience, non-judgmentally, unattached. Powerful stuff. And ultimately, the quality and the quantity of love is directly related to our level of self-acceptance and self-knowledge. So these are really important issues that Dan Hegrich is going to share with us. And obviously, here's a gentleman who speaks not just from a practitioner's perspective. You know, many of us talk to you about nutrition and taking care of your body and taking care of your health and your immune system solely from the perspective of the coach's perspective, or from the perspective of the nutritional counselor, the doctor, the practitioner. Not so with Dan Hegrich, the blue-collar healer. This is a gentleman who started off, as we said just a little while ago, from the perspective of the patient. Began his experience, his life experience with cancer, for example, a number of years ago. His first cancer struck, and 5 ensuing attacks by cancer. Each one of these cancer experiences providing Dan with some remarkable life lessons. And as you hear him this evening, you will hear very clearly a gentleman that has been through a tremendous amount of soul searching, a tremendous amount of life experience learning, and a tremendous amount of valuable spiritual information as well. Remarkable guy. He studied with healers all around the world. He studied in our offices for a number of years. He has studied with healers of great reputation from all around the world, learning remarkable therapies, ancient therapies, Native American therapies, and on and on and on. So if there was ever a gentleman that I would love to introduce you all to, or reintroduce you to, as it were, if you've heard him before, it is indeed the blue-collar healer, a dear friend and a special person, Dan Hegrich. When we come back from these messages, you will hear Dan Hegrich. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Laura from Good Health, proud sponsor of the Natural Health and Healing Show. Cold and flu season is upon us, and we have all the natural remedies you and your family need. Effective vitamins, herbs, homeopathics, and natural nasal sprays to protect you from germs and viruses. All our wholesome products are available at our everyday low prices. Come by and see us in Quincy Center or Route 53 in Hanover. Visit goodhealthnaturalfood.com. Good Health, the intelligent choice for everything healthful and economical.
Right in our area, we are fortunate to have one of the top martial arts schools in the country, Personal Best Karate. Personal Best has been recognized for their community involvement, professional staff development, character building programs, and exciting educational curriculum. Personal Best stands at the top of their industry. 5 locations offering personalized professional instruction. Not sure if karate is right for you? At no obligation, the staff at Personal Best will guide you in a private introductory program to see if karate is indeed the right fit to help you achieve your goals and meet your needs. What does karate at Personal Best teach you? Character building, success habits, helps you get in shape, relieve stress, self-control, setting goals, and of course, self-defense. Personal Best's goal is to create successful, contributing members of society through the practice of the martial arts at Personal Best. Mr. Chris Rappold is, of course, the founder of Personal Best Karate. He tells me his greatest joy of all is to see the personal transformation in each and every student. Bring out your best with Personal Best Karate. Telephone number 508-285-5425. That's 508-285-5425. Locations in Norton, Foxborough, Southeastern, Franklin, and Taunton. That's Personal Best Karate. Alrighty, welcome back. And as promised, we've got the blue-collar healer himself in studio, Dan Hegrich. Welcome.
Hi, Mark. How's it going?
Terrific. Great to have you back in studio. And for those folks that have not had the Dan Hegrich experience, unfortunately, we've talked with you a couple different occasions here, but you've had six recoveries from cancer.
Yeah, it's just a relapse of the same cancer. As you know, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or lymphomas have a tendency to wax and wane, come and go into remission, come back and relapse. So I went through the process 6 times, but each time it changed the staging. So first time it was stage 1, the next time it comes back it's stage 2, and progressed to the point of stage 4, which you know is a very nasty place to be because now the cancers and the tumors have gone into different parts of the organs.
So how is your health today?
Magical. It's beautiful. It's constantly improving.
So cancer is presently not active in your body.
Well, I think we can say scientifically that cancer is always active in everybody's body, but it's not to the point where it's causing me any problems. In other words, I don't have tumors. I don't have any of the worry no more. Where
there's no advanced staging and there's no active cells.
There's nothing going on except for the positive direction of moving towards optimal health.
And for how many years have you been in this particular healthy state?
I think the last 2 years has been the greatest jump in my health towards optimal health, but the recovery phase has been 9 years, where 2000 was when I didn't have any tumors, so science would say I was tumor-free, or medical science would say I was tumor-free. That was 9 years ago. But with my imagination of what health is, it's been about 2 years since I've started to really turn a catabolic state into a process of the anabolic state of building up health.
Right. Yeah. Now, and you talked about, you mentioned the word tumors now twice. I trust you've, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are about Dr. Tullio Simoncini, the Italian oncologist who has written a book that's becoming a fast-selling book, a world-famous book, and it's entitled Cancer is a Fungus. And he talks extensively about how tumors are, the word tumor and the word cancer are sort of generally thrown out there as language, but no one ever addresses the chemistry, the biochemistry within that tumor site. And he's actually proven, and he's been on YouTube, it's a remarkable piece on YouTube, but he's actually trying to convince the world to wake up to the reality that within the contents of a tumor, you have fungal colonies. So, if you can, basically put it all together, acidity, of course, which is what, tumors love, because acidity is what fungus loves. The idea of advancing candida bacteria from an acid environment. And acid comes from a variety of things, poor eating, stress, and, not living in harmony, not living in balance.
Well, the fungal thing is interesting because there's a couple of ways to look at it. When you have a tumor, there's a lot of dead cells that are being contained in there. So if you do a biopsy of it, you'll see a lot of just dead cells and benign stuff. You might even have calcium deposits. You might have heavy metals. You'll have a lot of things contained within that tumor. Fungus is just one part of it, and if we understand fungus properly, or bacteria, the fungus are actually digesting those dead cells. They're living off of that dead matter, so they're actually helping the process. Well, that's one way to see it.
A lot of folks also see that he's actually, what he's doing? They're doing 4-day treatments, and they claim that in 4 days of bicarbonate of soda, and they use they're using portacaths. They're hooking patients up to portacaths, and they're hitting them with 200 units of between a 5 and an 8.4% bicarbonate of baking soda. And they're completely remissing tumors in 4 days.
I've seen the literature coming through Google. I do the alerts for those things, and I've seen that. And it's probably working short term, just like if you actually go on Google and you type in E. coli, they're using that to inject into people and cause tumors to shrink very rapidly, especially hard-finding ones like the brain and lungs. So you're using nature as well. So there are so many variables that are actually coming up to the surface for us to play with.
So in your world, how did you cure your cancer? And you did.
Sure I did. I mean, I can't legally say that, of course, because our right to freedom of speech is a little bit snuffed by the medical model.
Yeah, but it's your opinion.
But I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say that I cured it, and I did it my way. The first step that I did is I took responsible for the creation of my part in that disease process.
Okay, explain that.
So it was an awakening factor that I had choice. And the choices that I had made in the past was to uphold and validate basically an addiction to disease, not being at ease.
Right.
And so that's carried out in all the behavioral things that I might take on, or all the things that I might suppress, and create that, the imbalance between a deficiency and an excess or a toxic load. So once I took responsibility for that, that said, now I can create wellness. I just have to learn how to do this now.
So when you say you accepted responsibility for the role that you played in creating your cancer,
Right.
You talk about changing your thoughts, your emotions.
And that's where it all comes from. It doesn't matter if you go the medical model. Everyone's internal system is operated by the thought process. So we have no way of measuring that, but we know that it's going on. And the thought is the first place that it always changes in everybody.
Right. Well, as I always remind people, if you have a dream that a dinosaur is chasing you in the middle of the night, you're going to have an elevated heart rate when you wake up from that dream.
Right.
Even though logically dinosaurs have been dead for extinct for 4 million years. So obviously your thoughts are charging up your chemistry, and that never stops happening, I guess.
Right.
And it's all a matter of paying attention to the recent research that says our thoughts produce matching chemistries.
Sure.
So if you're thinking negative thoughts, you're producing a negative chemistry, and there you're talking about you accepting responsibility for how your negative thought processes really created your cancer.
Yeah, so that was the first step, and then just sitting in your closet and thinking and imagining isn't going to cut it. So you have to take the thought and convert it into volition. You got to take the voluntary action steps to increase optimal health. So in between thought and action is feeling. So you're going to have to learn how to feel that inspiration to take the action step. And that's where the second part is you have to generate a reason for why you're doing this that's greater than your own little self.
Well, and isn't risk important?
Is it risk or is it entering into the chaos? I mean, it's probably both.
A little bit of both. I think the thought of staying comfy and cozy, even unto your own death.
Yeah, life is a risk. And if you want to avoid the risk and be comfortable, you're just creating the disease. You're trying to sugarcoat the disease or the suffering. The suffering remains, but it's sugar-coated through the material pleasures of the world. And then if you can uphold that material pleasure, then you keep your suffering sort of sugar-coated and under an illusion. But if you can't, and something occurs and it surfaces, you've got a problem there. You're going to have to face the music.
So, what is the cure for cancer, in your opinion?
I'm going to say it's the inspirational part, the imagination taking action. So in terms of the cure, practically speaking, you're going to have to take the two lifestyle factors into hand, which is movement and nutrition. Those are the two major lifestyle factors. Now, with understanding nutrition, I coach raw food nutrition because I keep learning that when we cook food, we create a deficiency in the food and we create a toxic byproduct in the food. So by definition, that's a deficiency and a toxicity, which is an imbalance, and so all I'm doing is eating imbalance. So therefore, I need something outside of that to balance it out. So if we start to learn how to eat raw food, it's in a balanced state already. So it's going to take us closer to homeostasis, particularly if we start to work with individuals on an individual basis and match the foods that are right for that particular person.
Okay, so the nutrition-cancer connection that's a pretty easy one to make. But what about movement? Now, you said movement is really an important part, equal to nutrition. What do you mean? Do you mean exercise? What is movement?
Yeah, exercise is a component of movement. So when we think of movement, we think of taking the blockage that's in the system, physiologically or energetically.
Figuratively.
As
well as literally.
Absolutely. And moving that out of the way, a bowel movement, an expression of an emotional movement.
Yeah, somebody's repressed with their anger and they don't express something like that, or their sadness or whatever, or their joy.
Yeah, exactly. Any of that buildup internally can become problematic.
Because it becomes blocked energy.
Exactly.
So movement, when you say movement is really vital, you're talking about all forms of movement, just opening things up and letting things move.
Your mind has to move, so it has to be opened up as well. So can you move your own inspiration? Can you move your own thoughts? I've had problems 5 years ago when I realized that I was going to get healthier when I was able to move my wisdom, move my inspirations, because they were blocking up and becoming trying. You'd wake up at night saying, I really want to share this, but I'm stuck.
And what is the key to someone moving their inspirations? I mean, there's a lot of people listening out there that have spent so many years trying to make their dreams come true. They've spent time and money and effort endlessly at trying to make their dreams come true, but it's not happening. Why?
That's a really good question, Mark, when we think about that, right? Why would that be happening to someone? I think someone
who's putting so much energy.
I think they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves that they have to create this dream instead of living in the moment. It just has to come back to the present moment and being joyful for what is right now.
So you're saying it's the art of trying and not trying at the same time.
Well, you can't do something or try to do something, because trying, it's like if I asked you to step up out of your chair, just try stepping up. You don't do anything. Trying is just it's a lack of effort.
Yeah, a lot of motivators say there's no such thing as trying.
There isn't.
You're either doing something or you're not doing something.
Yeah, it's just a word. Right, so you can't try to do something.
So again, if somebody is really working hard at making their dreams come true, spending time and money on it, and it's not happening, you would say to them what?
It is happening.
Maybe not within the context of their...
sugarcoating it. Yeah, they don't want to sugarcoat it. They're stuck on the sugarcoating. Now, you and I have been friends for 9 years or longer, and you've seen the process I've come through, and it's been about 3 or 4 months that I've started to get out of this catabolic state and start putting on weight and getting stronger. So my dream was to be healthier. My dream was to start reversing the aging process, this whole thing with the cancers and the treatments. So I had persistence. But I never hung on to having to get to the top of the mountain. I just focused on my daily steps. Do the cure. It's just one day at a time. It's one action step at a time.
What is the cure?
When I wake up, I make sure that I eat properly, I move properly, and I make healing primary in my life. That's first. That is first. All the other materialistic desires I might have are totally secondary. Healing comes first. If that's not going to be part of your life and make it a primary objective, and you're going to still want the things of the world to give you your happiness, then you're going to have complications in the journey.
Can that be done in family groups as well? Can that commitment, can that happen between a husband and a wife, and between a husband, wife, and 4 kids? Can a family do that?
It's more complicated, because oftentimes and I don't mean to be, I'm just going to have to lay it out there. This is the truth that I've experienced, is that oftentimes the person that got sick built the world around fear, and that husband or wife is going to have to be fully supportive for the suffering that's going to surface and have to be healed, which means the emotional wounds will be coming up. Now, if that other person or partner is not prepared and ready to handle that, then a lot of times those marriages fall apart or get stronger. They don't stay still. So they're either going to get stronger,
movement,
and they're going to have a lot more vulnerabilities and a lot more healing for both parties, or it's going to separate because one doesn't want to heal. They're not ready to awaken. And that happened to me, right? Because I got divorced. Yes. My wife had her awakening and saying, I need to go this way, I need to go that way. And I had to learn the hard route that that's a reality check. That our relationship was really based on a lot of human love, but really underneath was fear. Fear of not being lovable, not being loving, not being loved, and we become attached in a codependent relationship. So if someone has cancer and they have a partner in their relationship, this is a magical opportunity for healing of the relationship as well as the individuals.
When did you have, I assume you did have a big aha moment. Mm-hmm. When was that?
Well, there was one when my wife left the marriage.
Yes.
Right? So at first, the bitterness, the anger, the vulnerability, the scaredness, the abandonment, all the human issues that I had sugarcoated started to surface. And I had realized that I had placed my joy into the people, places, and things of the world, and that's why I was experiencing so much distraughtness and pain with her leaving, so much jealousy, envy, anger, all of that. And I had realized that I had to start cultivating joy intrinsically. And I had no idea what that meant, because I had been built on a societal life, a tribe, so to speak, of based on unhappiness is internal, and the things that you gain from the world defines your happiness. So when I can fill my house with all the stuff, I'm happy. And then when I fill my house and it's too small, I get a bigger house, and now I'm happier. That was my mentality. That was the conditioning. That was the way I was living the American dream.
Yeah, material codependency.
So I woke up to the American nightmare. And I was suffering from it because I couldn't uphold it anymore. The body wasn't lying with a terminal cancer. It wasn't lying with a divorce. It wasn't lying. So I had to learn something else.
Did the cancer first strike Dan after the divorce?
No, it came long before. The cancer was in 94, so the divorce was in 99. So my wife spent 5 years with me, and that whittled away at her particular strength, and it whittled away at my strength. But then it exposed our own weaknesses and vulnerabilities.
Right.
That was the time to start to learn a new way.
So as you say that when she told you she was leaving you, that was your first aha moment. When was your second?
The second one was in 2000 when I actually was in a psychiatric ward, and all of the medical model that was around me at that time, which was psychiatry, I was in the psych ward and I was locked down for a minimum of 7 days. Now, here was the interesting aha. I had realized that the medical model was totally based on fear. So that was opposite of what I was trying to learn, which was what's joy. I came into them going, I want to learn how to love myself and be joyful about life. Can you help me? And they're like, dude, that's your mental illness talking. We got to get you some more lithium. We got to get you some psych, meds, more of that stuff. So that brought on such an abandonment from my society. What happened was I had my terminal cancer come to me while I was in the psychiatric ward. So I was suffering quite a bit, and I had this terminal cancer again, and all they could do is try and talk about bone marrow transplants again and radiation. I said, you guys, you do what you want to do, but I'm going to figure this out because you guys have fear. I want joy in my life. I want joy internally. So here we go. I'm going to have to figure this out. So that's been the process for 9 years, is cultivating joy.
So the real big aha between these two that sort of strings the two together is that it's really important to become internally based as opposed to externally codependent.
Or externally dependent.
Yeah. It isn't going to come from the world. Yeah,
you got to reparent yourself, essentially. I mean, that's what a lot of it comes down to, is that parent disapproval and I'm not accepted as I am. And so that's a big part of it, and that's the process I'm in now.
Powerful stuff. We are talking with the blue-collar healer, Dan Hegrich. We're going to come back with him right after these messages. Stay right where you are.
This is Kaffer from Jarrow Formulas. We're happy to have continued our relationship with Mark Mincola in the Health and Healing Show, and we're happy to announce a new product from Jarrow Formulas called Jarrow Cell. We all know that as the body ages, it heals less rapidly and becomes frailer. Often the body is unable to process enough nutrients to repair weakening cartilage and protein fibers. A very important element in building and repairing your body is silicon. But unfortunately, as we grow, you may have difficulty absorbing adequate silicon from your diet. But now, thanks to a product called Jarrow Cell, you can be sure to get your share. Jarrow Cell can give you the silicon you need to support your bone health, bone mineral density, and in addition, Jarrow Cell strengthens and beautifies your hair, skin, and nails. Jarrow Cell is available now in a synergistic liquid formula that also includes boron and zinc. Ask for Jarrow Cell at your local health food stores. Or for more information, you can go to the Jarrow website, which is www.jarrow.com.
Are you feeling overwhelmed? Do you find that the stresses in your life are skyrocketing out of control? Hello, this is Mark Mincola. Please join me on Thursday, December 10th from 6:30 to 9 p.m. at the Red Lion Inn in Cohasset as I present Maximize Your Stress Reduction and Relaxation. You will learn about what stress really is and exactly how you can have power over it. We will discuss the latest scientific strategies that help you recover from stress and to keep you well in the face of any and all future stresses. In addition, there will be vendors present with food and supplements for stress, along with recipes, raffles, and drawings. For information, call 781-383-3393. That's 781-383-3393. Remember, you are more powerful than stress. Yes, indeed, you are more powerful than stress, and that presentation, we're getting some calls in on now. That's going to be at the Red Line December 10th. I hope a lot of you give consideration, especially during the stressful time of the holidays. That's why we planned this particular seminar. So we'll be at the Red Line December 10th to teach you how to maximize your stress reduction and to remind you that you are indeed much, much bigger than your stresses. A lot of remarkable studies and amazing techniques that we're going to share. Anybody interested, 781-383-3393. That's 781-383-3393. And, of course, we've got to mention that Good Health Natural Foods has all those natural turkeys available for everybody out there. So it is turkey season, and don't wait until the last minute because they're pretty busy over there, and they're trying to stay on top of your demands. So make sure you get in touch with Good Health Natural Foods, 781-826-0808. That's down Hanover Way, 617-773-4925, and that's over in Quincy. And, of course, Good Health Natural Foods has been our flagship sponsor from day one. We thank them for this forum, and we know you support them. And don't forget, they support you. So get down there and get those turkeys. All right, we've been talking with the blue-collar healer, good friend Dan Hegrich, 6-time cancer survivor with so much insight, so much wisdom. And we always love having you on, Dan. And it's, I think it's really important to summarize here in a sense that it's really about the internal experience, isn't it?
Yeah, what it is about the unseen, the unknown. And that space has more power than anything that is seen, because since the seen comes from that space. Now, we can describe it as molecularly we have a certain amount of strength. An elite athlete can lift so much weight.
Yes.
But then if you go underneath that and you go to the atoms, and we know what atomic power is, we've seen it. Mm-hmm. We've seen the damage. And if you even go smaller than that, it becomes even more and more powerful. So we go more from the seen and see someone lifting a lot of weight to the unseen, and it always has more power. It's plain and simple.
Yep. So when you talk about recovery from cancer, the average person out there is thinking that there's just no way to do that, because the average person, when they hear the word cancer, this buzz goes off in their brain, and they feel outnumbered, overpowered, overwhelmed, and pretty much gunned right out. Mm-hmm. So you say what?
You're going to have to sit with that and come to a space of how do you want to live? What's your philosophy of life? Do you really believe in what, let's say, the medical model's teaching you? Do you have other information to compare it with? Because oftentimes they just shut that down and they poo-poo it a lot just to keep you in their business, so to speak. And my suggestion is you do have choice, because, Mark, everybody on the planet has had something that they've cured through natural means. So the cure exists. Totally exists. Pancreatic cancer, can't cure it from the medical model, but somebody's done it. Heart disease, any of these things, people have obviously overcome. Autism, they've done it naturally.
Well, let me ask you a question. We just talked about the importance of thought, emotion, the internal versus the external. Those are important variables that we just kind of covered really briefly when it comes to beating cancer from your experience.
Right.
But so many folks out there, I think, are so programmed to think about themselves, perhaps even, as material beings.
Yep.
And maybe a little bit of religious action here and there, but not a whole lot of real, tangible, spiritual beings. This concept that I'm so much more than my cells. Mm-hmm. This concept that disease is a force. Cancer is a force. Mm-hmm. The only thing greater than forces are powers. Mm-hmm. And I have power in me that I keep hearing about from the spiritual perspective, from the intangible, from the thought perspective. But how can I really wrap my head around that? How can I get something tangible happening within the context of powerful thinking, powerful emoting, powerful expression of energy coming from within me that helps me to overcome the force of this disease? How do I do that?
The first thing that came to my mind was the breath, because the breath has such a bridge between the spirit world and the physical body. And we know that cancer loves an anaerobic state. So if you can learn
low oxygen, high acidity.
Yeah, and it's not a good balance between carbon dioxide and oxygen. So and you're not uptaking enough volume of oxygen. And look at the breath that you're actually taking in. What's the quality of the air? We know 1/3 of all cancers of lung cancer is all from smoking. So you stop smoking and you wipe out your chance of having any of that come into your life. But the breath work is probably by far the first movement process that I would suggest to anybody that is wanting to prevent cancer, wanting to build optimal health, anything that draws in that balance of that oxygen intake. And then you can move into spiritual breathing, which the great yogis and Chinese masters all talk about, is controlling the breath. So you can go to Michael White's work, which is optimalbreathing.com, and he has a free 15-minute test that people can take to see where their breath is, and he has some very simple, practical videos and exercises that they can do to start to heal the diaphragm and the breathing mechanism on a mechanical level.
So
genius.
That's optimalbreathing.com.
That's right.
That sounds like a really important evaluation for all of us.
Yeah, if we want to live, oxygen's the number one energy for the body, so we might as well consider that would be an important place to start.
And when you think about what stress does, or even the perception of stress, like we said a little while ago, imagining in your dream state that dinosaur is chasing you, you get your heart rate up, you get your breathing rate into that hyperventilation mode. You don't want to be living in that hyperventilation mode.
No, and the breath is the first thing to go, so that's the first thing that locks up. Now, some people that teach breath will tell you every negative thought you've had created an inhibited breathing pattern.
Which is true, of course.
So now you know that when we start to learn how to breathe properly, you're going to come into those experiences and wash those blockage or subconscious emotions out of the body by the breath. And once you learn it, it's free.
You recently were engaged in a remarkable breath work program out in, where was that? Baja, California.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
The whole retreat was 5 months, right, that I spent. You could spend longer or less. But what it was is, Mark, here's the kicker, learning how to relax. So when you think
I laugh, but I'm thinking to myself, who the heck can do that?
When you think about it, I spent 12 years in public school, 5 years in college, and I never got one class on learning how to relax. So I thought the investment for school was okay, but they missed the boat. They didn't teach me how to live in a relaxed way. And here I started at 44. I get to learn how to relax now, right? Or 42 or 43, start relaxing. And so that was the process. There was no set syllabus. It's you're going to get in touch with yourself and your life and learn to relax in the process of always having to have someone tell you how to live. Because you forgot. You don't know how to live your own life. And everybody out there marketing is telling you how to live. And it's keeping you away from what and how you want to live your own life. So I went there for 5 months to learn this, and in the process we had breath work because when the emotions and the uncomfortableness started to come up, we didn't want to run places. We had no place to really go. So we had to learn to be with what we were experiencing. And the breath was part of that on a daily basis. And then we had an intensive in February with transformational breath, which was more of a spiritual process of breathing, where we try to do conscious breathing where the inhale and exhale have no pause. There's no merge. And so now what you're doing is you're connecting with masculine, feminine energy and reliving and re-experiencing the oneness of all things. And that's another step or advanced breathing from perhaps Michael White's work, but Michael White's can obviously be worked in conjunction with other breath work.
All right, so you have been highly inspired to really travel the world and learn from some of the world's greatest healers and workshops and on and on. It's really, you've devoted your life to this.
Yeah.
Now, what about the average listener out there who would love to get a little piece of what you're talking about? Who would love to get empowered?
Yeah.
Who would love to hit that switch that Dan Hegrich is teasing him about tonight?
Yeah.
And they would love to somehow get that whole machinery of life moving in a positive way. What's the secret? What do they do?
Well, this is great. I'm holding my laughter back because that's what I was doing, was living an average life. So the first step is not to live average.
How do you define exceptionalism in that sense?
You're going to have to rise up out of mediocrity and go for something that really matters.
So the word inspiration comes to my mind, and that's, of course, translated means in spirit.
Yeah, I mean...
So you weren't always in that mode.
No.
You used to always talk about the stories about how years before you lived inspired, you were living wired.
Right, exactly. Very much John Belushi lookalike, or in a very, wannabe style.
Yeah. So you used to abuse yourself.
Of course, and that was a means to try and sugarcoat the suffering, to avoid my own self. I had to have TV going, music going, I had to have food in my mouth, I had to have excitement, the city life, the vibe, the energy, something.
Stimulation.
Stimulating me.
You are alive, Dan. The world's telling you are alive. Thank you, world.
Right, and you don't know how alive I was when you sat with life.
Right.
There's more aliveness in that than anything, but it's fearful because it's unfamiliar, it's healing, and I don't know what's on the other side of that. And the only thing that's on the other side of that is joy, intrinsic joy. And so we are so afraid of our own intrinsic joy that we become addicted to our suffering. And then we've sugarcoated it with the stuff of the world. And entering into that space is very frightening at first. And that's why you need, or I suggest that you get someone that you can entrust to hold that space of non-judgment and loving space that you're coming into that joy. And you can move through those feelings, or those feelings can move through you, and you'll be safe.
We should give a little bit of your contact information out here, because I'm sure at this point there's a lot of intrigued listeners out there. We're talking with Dan Hegrich, who has dubbed himself the blue-collar healer, and he indeed is that. He's an extraordinary man and a great, great coach, great healer, and he has a website, www.absolutehealthandhealing.com. Pretty easy to remember, www.absolutehealthandhealing.com. And his telephone is 413-663-4925. I'll give it one more time. 413-663-4985. So what are you up to these days in terms of, you got some plans for any workshop plans?
Yeah, I do. I came back from Toronto this past September, and I did a juice feast. It was basically 4 days, and the elements of healing. Mm-hmm. And that turned into, the group enjoyed it so much, they told me they wanted a 10-day workshop next year.
Fantastic.
So I guess that's the law of life, always looking to expand. So I went from the 4 days, now it's a 10-day next year in Fergus, Ontario. We're having a private retreat center in a beautiful hiking town. So we're going to be doing Living Primal, Loving Spirit workshop up there, and we're going to be talking about raw foods, and then people can stay with us, and they're going to implement raw foods for 9 days and see what it does to them, and it's going to flip them inside out and upside down, and they're going to tap into a state of joy.
Any plans for any writing, any books?
It's always asked, isn't it? Yeah. Everybody keeps asking me along the way, along the path, and I think the book's going to write itself. So once I think there's some emotional healing that's in the way.
Well, you are the living story, dude.
Yeah, people can come and see me live.
We're writing a couple chapters right now.
That's right. And I think the book is writing itself and taking its own shape, but I don't want it to be a project. I want it to be a joyful expression. And as I continue to heal my own emotional wounds, then they move out of the way, and I think the book will just sit down and write in a week. It's just something I wait for inspiration to do it, not obligation to society.
So if you were to suggest any books that are available out there, any websites, anything that folks might want a little more information to follow up. Obviously, if your book was in hard copy, we could refer them, and out they'd go tomorrow morning to pick it up. But that's not the case.
No.
So they can go to your website. We'll give that again in a little while here, or your phone number. But what if folks want to kind of cuddle up before they shut out the light?
So if we look at it from a three very simple things people can do. One is learn to cultivate energy. And I learned in China that the Qigong master I was with, he said, you don't have to believe. You do it, and the belief will follow.
That's what Richard Davidson tells everybody out at the University of Wisconsin and all the neuroplasticity research.
Yeah.
He says your body basically will listen to your words, and it will believe in your actions.
Yeah, that's the positive affirmation principle in psychology.
It is indeed, and it's the idea, too, with neurobiology that, again, as we said a little while ago, your chemistry is matched from the words you speak. So whatever words you speak, even your dialogue, your internal dialogue, produces a matching chemistry. Yeah. So if you're in your own mind, if you're preaching a dialogue of healing, you're living the life of healing, you know. So number one, you say you've got to change your thinking.
You want to cultivate energy, and the
you want to stop blocking the energy.
Right. So you want to cultivate it because that builds up more energy in the body, which will push through the blockage. Because we need to match the intensity of the blockage. We have to be greater than that intensity. So if you think about, I had a terminal cancer 6 times. What emotional intensity must I have actually been trying to block that needed such an intense awakening? So we need to generate energy and intensity to break through. So Qigong is probably by far one of the quickest medical Qigong. I know Thomas Tam is terrific in the area, in the Boston area, but they can go online and they can look at MA Qigong.
Yeah.
They can look at Falun Dafa Qigong and Shilong.
So let me go back here for just a second. If number one is all about movement and creating energy, and I guess movement in a sense is all about the same thing. Movement and energy sort of say the same thing. And again, my reference to not blocking it.
Right.
You know, in other words, if you have a passion, you don't want to block it by saying, no, I can't do that. I don't have enough education. I don't have enough money. You know, I don't have the resources. I don't have the time. Yep. You know, that's a form of blocking movement, blocking energy.
Yep.
You know, take some steps to allow that energy to move in the positive direction. Get busy, get engaged. Stop making excuses for your failure.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a transitional process because we've been conditioned so much the other way. So you can say, start with the one moment and just start to practice it. It's going to feel uncomfortable. And then the second part is go to Michael White's breathing website. And then there's a book that people can get for raw food nutrition to find the story behind it is WeWantToLive.com, and that's live.com, and the author there cured himself of 8 different terminal diseases with food. So food is medicine.
When we come back from this break with Dan Hegrich, I'm going to ask the question of what can the average person do to prevent cancer? Stay right there. We'll get that answer for you in just a few minutes. Hi there, this is Mark Mincole, the Natural Health and Healing Show. I know that so many of you out there are passionate about the latest cutting-edge nutritional information, would like to go on to that next level. I'm proud to announce that our new natural health care offices at Cohasset are offering personalized nutritional consultations. At Santi Holistic Healing, you'll experience an informative, individualized nutritional consultation by one of my finest personally trained nutritional experts. Your consultant will test you for specific food allergies and supplements. Together, you'll chart out a personalized, optimal nutritional roadmap that will detail your healthiest foods and nutritional supplements, even specific doses. If that's not enough, we also offer relaxing healing massage at Santi Holistic Healing. Whether it's nutritional consulting or healing massage that you're interested in, we at Santi Holistic Healing are prepared to give you the healing experience of a lifetime. Call us at 781-383-3393. That's 781-383-3393 for the healing experience of a lifetime.
Join Rita Berkowitz, spirit artist, for an intimate, inspirational evening, Friday, November 20th from 7 to 9:30. Share in a wonderful evening of learning about and witnessing communication with those on the higher side of life.
That's at the Larches Inn, 26 South Main Street in Carver. Tickets are $35. Call Candida to register, 781-834-2728. That's 781-834-2728. Or log on to www.healthylivingvideo.com.
Hi, this is Laura from Good Health. Did you know that organic foods offer up to 1,000% more vitamins and minerals than non-organic foods? It's true. So this year, make every dollar count. Shop at Good Health Natural Foods in Quincy and Hanover. See us online at goodhealthnaturalfood.com. Remember, for certified 100% organic produce, natural groceries, vitamins, sports nutrition, herbs, homeopathics, and natural cosmetics, it's Good Health Natural Foods. We'll see you soon.
Alrighty, welcome back. We have had another remarkably fast hour with the blue-collar healer, Dan Hegrich. I'm going to give out his information, his contact info one more time. absolutehealthandhealing.com. Also, you can contact him at dan@absolutehealthandhealing.com. You can give a call also, 413-663-4985. And Dan, that is really important stuff that you just shared with us. But the burning question, of course, that so many folks are really waiting to hear. What can the average person do to prevent cancer?
Well, you can check in with your breath right now because I'm sure you're spinning a little bit with a lot of information that is abstract to you. So just check in with your own breath right now.
Well, in your program is, of course, in your upcoming spring tour is going to be called Do the Cure.
Right.
And the Do the Cure tour is really all about these three things. Number one is cultivate energy, which, like we're saying here, don't block yourself, folks. Whatever your passions, whatever your spirit is trying to lead you into, whatever you, as Tony Robbins says, whatever you can't do, you must do. Mm-hmm. No blockages. Yeah. Whatever your passions, your dreams, your visions, whatever matters most to you, you've got to move in that direction. Even if the door doesn't fly open for you, you've got to move in that direction. That's number one, cultivate energy, movement. Number two, you said breathing, and you correlate breathing with emotion. Talk about that.
Yeah, because the breath is going to bring in intensity. It's going to bring in, there's life inside the energy. That's why, information can be transmitted through the airwaves. I mean, there's life inside of breath. And so there's also the holy breath is there. So when you breathe in a proper way, you're going to start to go through emotional barriers that prevent us from being totally in the moment and merging that spirit. And you're going to wind up feeling through that.
When I first did chanting work a long time ago, I found that the deep breathing of my chanting work changed my life so radically.
Yeah.
And by the way, not all fun and games.
No.
A lot of stuff came out. A lot of old memories, a lot of not so pleasant stuff that was important to detoxify from my life experience.
The Grandmaster Fu calls it extrication from suffering. He says that's the fastest way to healing rather than cultivating happiness. Cultivating happiness is putting the sweet things of life over it. Yeah. And the suffering remains. But if you get rid of the suffering, then our natural happiness, our joy is naturally presented to us.
The innate wellspring will flow.
Right.
Beautiful. And number three, of course,
nutrition.
Do the cure.
Fill the deficiencies.
Do the Cure says number three, you got to fill up those cells with life force. Because for all intents and purposes, there's food that brings immediate gratification but doesn't really bring life.
Yeah.
And then you've got food that brings life. And it's so important, folks, not just to sugarcoat your diet as well. To make sure your cells are getting life force. Because if they run out of fuel, and their fuel is life force, then you run out of life.
It's just that's the disease process. The aging process, anyway.
All right, so let's talk about the challenges that you face after all you've been through. Folks who do go through these remarkable transformations, you wake up one day and say, my life is better. I'm pointed in the right direction. I feel like I'm finally who I really am. I'm living an authentic life.
Yeah.
I have movement. I have emotional balance because I'm breathing properly. I'm doing deep breathing exercise, Tai Chi, whatever. And my nutrition is better and my life is better. Right. Now, what challenges does that healed person face?
the same challenges that someone else is going to face where they have their cancer right now. It's the same one. It's on a different mountain. So, for example, geez, I really wish I had the finances to open up that healing center, right? So I say, how am I going to make that happen? I don't say I can't do it. I just say, how is that going to happen? Show it to me. Or the challenges of fatigue, because I'm going through a healing crisis, or some of the breath work brings up some of that darkness or the emotions that you were talking about with your chanting. I have to sit with those, and oftentimes they're so powerful that I'm not able to do it, and I abort it, and I have to go and find a healer or someone to sit with me while I go through it, to hold my hand, essentially, to make sure that I feel safe and loved and that it's okay to experience what I'm going to experience. So those are challenges. I guess the challenges is channeling my inspiration into a more definitive message for people. I think I have so much information and inspiration to share that it can be overwhelming to myself, and so it's a distillation process into really crystallizing what I want to share.
One word to everybody out there, what would you leave them with tonight?
Oh, I'd have to say I love you.
That does it. Beautifully done.
Yeah.
But from somebody who truly means it from the right place, too, folks. I can attest to that. Dan, it's always really special to have you here. And I think we were talking about you doing a presentation on your Do the Cure tour up in this part of the world in March. So maybe we get you back on here and you can talk about your upcoming presentation.
Yeah, that'll be more of a talk, but it'll be more of an interactive process of generating energy, doing some breathing, and talk about nutrition and actually apply some things.
And once again, Dan Hegrich, the Blue Collar Healer, www.absolutehealthandhealing.com, 413-663-4985. Dan, you are magical. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
And I love you right back, brother.
Right.
And for folks interested in watching this broadcast, of course, you can always watch the Natural Health and Healing Show. Yes, I said watch, because Adam Ing makes it possible through podcasting. And you can check us out on the website at www.maxhealing, that's one word, maxhealing.com. And Larry Nelson, we'd like to thank you for a terrific job, as usual. And each and every Sunday night, of course, you can listen to the Natural Health and Healing Show only on 95.9 FM WATD, the South Shores radio station. Once again, until next Sunday at 8 o'clock, this is Mark Mincola reminding you all, please be wise, be aware, be well. Make it a healthy week. Good night.
Thank you for joining Mark Mincola.